Good morning and welcome to the Peoria. I'm your host, Paul Gordon. I'm old enough to remember when roller derby was popular on television. It was fun to watch. I also remember going to see the movie Kansas City Bomber, although my buddies and I mostly just wanted to see Raquel Welch in a roller derby uniform. Hey, I was a teenager. I remember that the tracks were banked and teams stood in the middle of the track shouting, sometimes fighting. And then I remember that players were whipped around by their teammates to gain speed on the track. But if they were blocked by opposing players, they went flying completely off the track sometimes. It was brutal. But was it real? Roller derby was very real when it started in the 1930s. Bouts drew many thousands of spectators. But historians report that its popularity started to fade after it became televised, and leagues started scripting bouts with theatrical moves designed to thrill, but not injure. Often the winner was predetermined, but it didn't help with the waning popularity. Well, roller derby is back, revived about a decade ago as a women's sport played on a flat track mostly. Peoria Push Derby Dames, a league with 5 teams, is now 2 years old. And don't think for 1 second that this is not a real sport. The Dames will set you straight. Members of Peoria Push are here today to talk about the league and their next bout when we come back. Welcome back to the Peorian. My guests today from Peoria Push Derby Dames are Barb Bachman, who goes by BarBerryN on the track, and Kelly Harvey, whose roller derby name is Harvey Wallbreaker. Welcome to the Peorian.
Thank you.
Is there any rhyme or reason to the nicknames besides a playoff of your given names?
No, that's the only reason why I go by BarBerryN, since my name is Barb, and it was easy just to put the BarBerryN and go that way with it.
But you wanted to find something that was going to make it sound like you're tough.
Well, I am tough. I am tough.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to meet you in a dark alley.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
And same with Harvey Wallbreaker.
Yep. Wanted something that was tough. And my last name is Harvey, so I did want something that kind of plays off my real name. But not everybody's like that. It's fun to create a persona, an alter ego. So sometimes they're completely different than our regular personalities.
Do you pick your own names, or does
Yes.
the league have to approve them or anything?
Actually, they're approved by an international registry.
Oh.
So that no derby girls can have same or really similar names.
Okay.
And so within our league, we're sure to make sure that there's nothing that's very similar, and then they're submitted to a website for approval.
Okay. Let's get to some of the essentials first. Your next home bout is coming up Saturday, April 21st at the Civic Center, correct?
Yes.
5:30 p.m.? Is that what time it starts?
I think that's when the doors open.
Okay.
I think it starts at 6:30.
Are tickets on sale?
Yes.
And how much are they?
$10 if you buy them in advance, and $15 if you buy them at the door.
Okay, what is how many advance sales do you normally get?
Probably about 500 to 600, probably 3/4 of the room will be full.
Okay, how many will it hold? Can you get in there?
About 1,000.
Okay.
So.
All right, don't get your hackles up. But people want to know, is roller derby a sport?
Yes, it is.
Explain, please.
When we are doing it, we are playing. We don't know the outcome. We hit somebody. We don't know if they're going to get hurt. I mean, we just go at it, have fun, and there's whatever happens, happens. But it's not scripted, and things just happen.
Is there there is a chance you could get hurt,
Sure,
right?
absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely. Just as in any sport.
Well, is there some kind of special training you need to go through to try to minimize that possibility?
Whenever we're new to the sport, we do actually are required to do some basic skills training so that we can get more familiar with skating. One of the first things we learn how to do is how to fall. So we learn how to fall carefully, how to usually try to fall on your knees, not to fall straight back on your rump and, you know, tailbone, and so those types of things. So we practice falling in that sense, so that if you do get hit, and you do get hit hard to where you're going for the ground, you can, you know, roll a little bit or fall down to a knee.
Do you normally wear helmets?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And wrist guards, elbow pads, mouth guards, and knee pads.
But injuries do still happen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, aren't, I don't know, 3 or 4 of your members out right now from broken bones or something?
We have a couple. We have we seem to get a lot of ankle and knee injuries. Within the past couple of years, we've had a couple of broken ankles, but we've got twisted knees, ACL problems, broken rib, broken tailbone every once in a while. So it's pretty tough.
Peoria Push came into being about 2 years ago. Was it an instant hit, or have you just had to build a following?
I think it's been building. I mean, each bout seems to get a little bit more and more. We have sold out our bouts. So I think each time we seem to get a different group of people. Sometimes it's the age range is varied.
But it's still growing, correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
When you say you've sold out your bouts, where do you have their bouts at the Civic Center? Exhibit hall?
Oh, in one of the exhibit halls.
And it holds about 1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
And we've been, I'll admit, playing around the last couple of years with trying to figure out which place at the Civic Center really is best for us. And so we're actually just, for this next upcoming bout, we have moved from a smaller hall into a bigger hall so that we can have the same size crowds that we had last year.
Okay. What was the largest you had last year?
We actually just had an amazing bout in January, and we actually were in the arena. And we were able to, push ticket sales in a lot different way by seating so many more. So we sold about 3,000 tickets.
Wonderful.
It was amazing.
What about skaters? Are you constantly looking for new skaters? Do they contact you saying, hey, I want to be part of this? Do you have tryouts regularly?
It's a little bit of both. It can be a mixed bag. We do have tryouts regularly, and we're actually right in the middle of our tryout time right now.
Okay.
And so we will do what we call a boot camp, to where people can come and they can kind of practice roller derby a little bit for a couple of hours to figure out if they like it or not. And so the next one of those is the last Saturday in April, the 28th. And then we'll have tryouts, kind of right after that event. And then, but also if people are interested in getting involved with the league, there are some opportunities to get involved either as volunteers or officials or as skating referees, because we can't play if we don't have our referees to skate with us. And so it always takes very talented skaters to be referees also.
And the skaters come from all walks of life, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I want to get into that a little bit more when we come back. When we come back, we're going to talk about the basics of roller derby and get to know a little bit more about the local teams. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Peorian. I'm with Barb Bachman and Kelly Harvey, members of the Peoria Push Derby Dames, the roller derby league with 5 teams, including travel teams that do battle with teams from other leagues. As complicated as it may look when you're watching it, and probably because of the chaotic nature of roller derby, the basics really aren't complicated at all, are they? I mean, how does a team score, first of all?
Okay, well, each round is called a jam, and we have 5 people from each team on the track.
Okay.
4 people from each team are blockers, and they join together as a pack. 1 person from each team are called the jammers, and they actually start 30 feet behind the pack.
Oh.
When they blow the first whistle, the pack starts moving, and whenever all the pack moves about 10 feet forward, then blow the second whistle, and the jammers will actually race to catch up to the pack. So the jammers are the ones that score points, and they score by passing members of the opponent team. So whenever they come into the back of the pack, they have an opportunity to score up to 4 points. And so they're going to fight their way through the pack to be able to score points. And so the blockers that are in the pack, all 8 of us, we're trying to help our jammer through, and we're trying to stop the other jammer from getting through so that they don't score points on us. So the jammers will get through the pack. Generally, the first time they go through, they're actually not scoring points. It's kind of like a qualifying round. They get through the pack. The second time they come up to the back of the pack is when they can actually start scoring points. So our goal as blockers would be to take the jammer of the other team and keep them blocked in the pack so that they never get through the pack, and that our jammer just laps and laps and laps.
So each team has their jammer going at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
They start off together.
What do you want in a jammer? What do you look for? Speed, strength, both? What do you look for in a jammer?
I would say both, but also agility. Agility is huge for somebody who can be starting to go around the outside of a blocker and then jump back in really quick to the inside of the track. Agility is something that really gets us. And you have to be able to be strong enough so that when you do get hit, you can take a hit and keep going instead of taking a hit and falling down. Because if you need time to stand back up, you lose a few seconds out of the jam.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember, how teams would whip their jammer around.
Sure.
You know, do you still do that?
We sure do.
Isn't there a possibility of getting hurt doing that?
There's a possibility of getting hurt anything you do when it comes to roller derby.
Okay.
Because it's all about making sure your wheels are, headed the right direction. If you get your skate kind of cocked a little bit, you can very easily trip over yourself, or you can trip over somebody else. So in a whip, when you're gaining speed and momentum off of somebody else, you're increasing the chance that if you fall, you're going to fall harder. And that's it. I mean, most of our injuries have been from, people falling down and twisting a knee or twisting an ankle in that extra speed, extra force.
Is about timed? Is each round
Yes.
timed?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Each round, each jam will last up to 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll take a 30-second break while we change the lineup. And then each period will actually last for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And every bout that we have is usually 2 30-minute halves.
Okay. How often do you substitute?
Often. Well, actually, our teams are made up of about 12 to 15 people. And so 5 people on the track at a time, we really try to take turns going out there so that most people do get a 2-minute break in between each bout. Now, ended up playing last fall, we only had 9 people on our team. And so we were booking it to be able to make sure somebody got a break once in a while. Not just every other jam, but even once in a while.
You say that there are referees. Are there fouls?
Yeah, you want to discard the penalties?
There are penalties. There are major penalties and minor penalties. You're going to have to help me with this one.
Okay, so the one thing that's different about modern roller derby compared to old time roller derby is that we cannot intentionally hit people with elbows or with our hands. Those are two of our most prominent fouls. So we don't clothesline people, and we don't actually get to fight with each other on the track. All of those things are considered penalties.
Okay.
Also, tripping people intentionally is considered a penalty. Coming up behind someone and hitting them straight in the back is a penalty. We really do protect kind of the area where the spine is, so we can hit them on the back of the shoulders, but not straight down the back, and can't hit anyone above your shoulders. So we can have minor penalties, which just means, a little bit of an elbow, but it didn't really make that big of an impact. If it's a strong enough of a penalty that actually knocks somebody down, then that would be considered a major penalty.
Is the person then?
Yep, I think. Then they go straight to the penalty box, and they
Okay.
have to sit in the penalty box for a minute.
Okay. We're going to take a break now for messages from our sponsors, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about how roller derby is benefiting the community. But first, here's our own Kevin Kaiser to talk about what's going on in the literary and culinary world.
Awake! Yes, awake, my minions. Good. Okay, this morning I'm going to talk about a new book that has to do with a new movie that's based on an old book. Simple enough. The book is called One and Only by eminent beat historian Gerald Nicosia, and it tells the story of Luann Henderson, the beautiful girl who shared the ride with Neil Cassidy and Jack Kerouac in On the Road, the classic 20th century American novel by Kerouac. Luann Henderson was a beautiful 15-year-old girl when she met Cassidy, a fast-talking hurricane of male sexuality and vast promises in Denver in 1945. Luann was Neil's teenage bride when he first went to New York and met Kerouac, Ginsberg, and later William Burroughs. This book tells the real story of the woman who went on the road many times with Cassidy and Kerouac. In the past, she's alternately been portrayed as a naive girl or a sexual plaything for Cassidy. And in truth, she was really a very smart, very pretty, adventurous, and independent young woman who could handle her own with the boys. She experienced things that were unthinkable for a woman in her day. She demanded, in the words of Thoreau, a broad margin to her life. When Cassidy first laid eyes on her in Denver, he declared that he'd marry her, and 3 weeks later he did. Neil was 20 and Luann was only 15. Her mother consented. And coincidentally, around that same time, Neil had received a rare opportunity. Even though he was a high school dropout, he had an IQ of 132, which piqued the interest of a local admissions advisor for Columbia University, who was able to arrange for an oral admission examination with several Columbia professors. But first, Cassidy had to get to New York. After his whirlwind romance and marriage, Neil and Luann set off. After hitchhiking, stealing a car or two, and lifting a little cash from a relative, the pair made it to New York, but Neil skipped his exams and instead found himself in a circle of friends that included Kerouac, Ginsberg, Burroughs, et al. And the rest is literary history. The book contains transcriptions of audio tapes of Luann herself from 1978, which informed the production of the new on-the-road film slated to be released this year. In the film, Kristen Stewart plays headstrong beauty Mary Lou, aka Luann, while relatively unknown actors Sam Riley and Garrett Hedlund tackle the main characters, Sal Paradise and Dean Moriarty. Studying for the role, Stewart spent time with Luann's daughter, Anne Marie Santos, who actually stood in for Stewart in one of the scenes. So, the daughter got to stand in for the actress who was playing her mother in the film, thus enabling at least a part of Luann to make an appearance in the film about the real-life story she played such an important role in. So check out One and Only, the untold story of On the Road and Luann Henderson, the woman who started Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy on their journey, which is out now, and the film On the Road, which will be released later this year. Now, sleep. Sleep again, my minion, sleep.
We're back talking with BarBerryN and Harvey Wallbreaker, members of Peoria Push, the Women's Roller Derby League. Before we talk about how you benefit the community, I wanted to talk about the skates that you use. I noticed it's 4 wheels. Mm-hmm. They're not inline skates. Is there a reason? Just safety purposes?
I honestly don't know if there's a reason. I've always said that we just like to have a little bit of throwback to old school by sticking with the quad design.
Okay.
Now, the quad design is also what they do use in the speed skating sport, and so I can't prove to you that it's faster, but that is what we always use for roller derby.
Now, I would imagine that inline skates wouldn't be, you couldn't keep your balance well enough, could you?
Well, I don't think the inline skates would be good for your ankles anyway. I think these would be better because they support your ankles because they go up more.
And they seem to have special designs too. It almost looks like shock absorbers or something.
I don't think, they're not shock absorbers, but what we do like is to have a little bit of an angle for the wheels to be coming forward at a 45-degree angle to spread your wheels out a little bit to give you a little bit of a wider stance, more stability. We also go for special designed, this is called the truck under here, special designed trucks, and it's very becoming more popular to make those out of different materials so that they're stronger and they're lighter.
Cool.
And then our wheels, we have millions of designs of wheels because they're all a different hardness. And so depending on what surface that they're gripping, they actually have a different durometer rating. So if we're going to be skating outside, we're going to want softer wheels so that they kind of are, do that. If we're on a slick floor, we're going to want wheels that are also softer so that they'll kind of grip onto the slick concrete a little bit better. So that's actually probably the biggest thing that most of us play around with is trying out different types of wheels.
Okay. All right. According to your website, which is PeoriaRollerDerby.org, in your first 2 years as a league, the Push has donated more than $33,000 to local charities. I assume that this is from proceeds of ticket sales, also donations if people want, concession sales, that sort of thing? Okay. Is that kind of thing normal for roller derby leagues nowadays, or is that unique to Peoria?
It's pretty normal. Most of the leagues that have started up are starting as nonprofit organizations to be able to do those donations. I
noticed too that, according to your website, that you also donate a lot of time and sweat to organizations. Trash pickup, soup kitchens, that sort of thing.
The Bikers for Tatas?
Yeah, last year we did the Bikers for Tatas. We helped park bikes. We helped sell raffle tickets. We did whatever they asked us to, and it was really hot that day. So yeah, we sweat doing this.
Why do you do it?
Because it's just the right thing to do, and we give back to the community.
Okay. And are you gaining fans, more fans by doing that?
I think so. I think it helps us get more sponsors too, because we're always looking for sponsors. So I think that by us doing things like that, it helps in turn get sponsorships for us so we can do more things.
And just the exposure for people who don't even realize roller derby exists in Peoria. I mean, they probably aren't going to come to about because we support other nonprofit organizations, but definitely the exposure is good for us.
I did notice too that your next bout, the 21st, the proceeds for that one go to Easter Seals. Do you always choose in advance who the proceeds will go to?
Yes, it's always done in advance, and usually we pick a charity that's close to someone that is on the league and vote on it and then go pick it that way. Okay.
How can people find out more about what charities you give and how they can get more involved?
Really just the website that you mentioned, PeoriaRollerDerby.org. is where we have all of our information. So that's where you're going to be able to find out about our charities and suggest charities if someone would like to, or find out more about the sport for tryouts, or to buy tickets for the bout.
And is that also where they can find out about tryouts, you said?
Yes, the 28th.
And, okay. And where those will be? Where are those?
Those are
tryouts?
at Planet X in Pekin,
Planet
Saturday morning,
X.
the roller rink that's in Pekin.
Okay. All right. I hope you've enjoyed today's program and that we've helped you get to know a little bit more about roller derby in Peoria. I will admit that I haven't yet made a Peoria bout, but I will. And I hope to see you all there as well. Remember, too, that you can see this and other episodes of The Peorian on our website, thepeorian.com, including a little extra conversation that doesn't make it to this broadcast. And tune in for another episode next Sunday at 8 a.m. on WHOI TV. Have a good week.
Música